You've heard it before, maybe while brushing, maybe while standing quietly beside your horse, maybe when nothing seemed to be happening at all. And then, the horse lets out a long, slow exhale. The head drops, the eyes soften, the body settles, and then it goes back to normal. Most people never think about it again. They assume the horse was tired, or relaxed, or just breathing. But experienced horse trainers pay close attention when that sound happens, because sometimes that sigh tells them more than an hour of behavior ever could. In some cases, it tells them a horse has finally decided to trust. Here's the strange part. The horse doesn't choose to do it. It can't perform it. It can't fake it, and it cannot be trained to produce it on command. The sigh comes from somewhere deeper, a place beneath behavior, beneath training, beneath conscious choice, a place inside the horse's nervous system. And once you understand what is happening in that moment, you'll never hear that sound the same way again. Because what most people call a sigh is actually a biological event, a measurable shift in the horse's entire body, one that only happens when a specific question has finally been answered. Am I safe? There is a system inside every horse that never stops running, even while eating, even while resting, even while standing perfectly still. The system is asking one question over and over again: safe or not safe? Because horses are prey animals. For 60 million years, survival depended on detecting danger before danger arrived, not after, before. So every sound, every movement, every unfamiliar object, every unfamiliar human gets evaluated constantly. The horse is always reading, always calculating, always updating its assessment. And most of the time, that assessment remains unfinished. Not danger, not safety, just uncertainty. The horse stays ready, scanning, watching, waiting. And here is what most people don't understand about that state. Staying there is expensive, physiologically expensive. The muscles stay partially activated. Breathing remains slightly restricted. The nervous system continues spending energy, preparing for possibilities, even when nothing bad is happening. This is the default state of a prey animal in an uncertain environment. Not panicked, not calm, somewhere in between. And most horses, even horses in safe stables with kind owners, in familiar environments, spend most of their day somewhere in that zone. Until something changes, not outside the horse, inside it. The nervous system reaches a conclusion, a real one, not a hopeful one, not a trained one, a biological one. The environment is safe, and the body immediately begins reorganizing itself around that conclusion. The diaphragm releases, the intercostal muscles, the muscles running between the ribs, soften. Air that had been held in a shallow, tense respiratory cycle finally moves through the full depth of the lungs. Cortisol drops, oxytocin rises. The neck muscles release, which is why the head drops. The eye muscles soften, which is why the eyes go half closed. The whole body settles by that almost imperceptible half inch. And then the air leaves the body, long, slow, complete. The sigh. But here is what makes this extraordinary, and this is the part most people miss entirely. The sigh is not really about the environment. It's about the horse's assessment of the environment, which means something that might be uncomfortable to hear. If a horse sighs beside one person, but stays braced beside another, the difference isn't always the horse. Sometimes, the difference is what each person is communicating to the horse's nervous system, not deliberately, not consciously, through breathing, through movement, through muscle tension and emotional state, and the quality of their presence. The horse is reading all of it. Long before trust becomes visible, the nervous system has already started keeping score. Every interaction is evidence. Every visit is data. Every moment you spend near that horse, its nervous system is asking the same question it always asks: safe or not safe? And here is something that trainers who work with traumatized horses describe in almost identical terms across different countries, different disciplines, different decades. They describe a process that can take weeks, sometimes months, day after day of patient work, a horse that watches every movement, a horse that breezes before touch, a horse that never fully settles. Not because it is difficult, because its nervous system has accumulated too much evidence in the other direction, too many experiences that answered the question a certain way, not safe. So the trainer works, consistently, predictably, without force, without rushing, without asking for trust, just providing the evidence from which trust can be built. And then, one day, without warning, without ceremony, without any obvious trigger, the horse sighs. Everyone who is present in that moment describes it the same way. They say you feel it before you hear it. Something in the atmosphere of the horse changes, and then comes the exhale. Long, slow, complete. The head drops, the eyes soften, and everyone in that barn knows exactly what just happened. Not because the horse said anything, not because it performed anything, but because its nervous system, after weeks or months of accumulated evidence, finally reached a conclusion it could not reach before. Safe. One trainer described the first sigh this way. She said, "It is not the end of something, it is the beginning." It is the first moment the horse is truly available, not managing, not bracing, not surviving, just present. Now, I want to tell you about something researchers have been documenting that I think is one of the most quietly extraordinary findings in this field. The regulation doesn't only move in one direction. When a horse enters a calmer physiological state, when its heart rate drops, when its cortisol falls, when its breathing deepens, the human present often have measurable matching changes. Heart rate slowing, breathing slowing, muscle tension decreasing. Two nervous systems, one horse, one human, finding the same state together. Without words, without instructions, without either one consciously trying. The horse didn't just tell you it felt safe, it helped you feel safe too. The next time your horse sighs next to you, stop what you're doing for just a moment. Don't move toward it, don't reach for it, don't respond. Just let it happen. Because what is occurring in that moment is not something you caused by doing something right. It is something you earned by being something right. For an animal that spent 60 million years wired never to let its guard down, wired to stay alert, to keep scanning, to never fully trust, letting the air out like that, while standing next to you, is the nervous system filing its final verdict. Not because you performed a technique, not because you followed a formula, but because something inside the horse looked at something inside you and found no reason to keep holding on. In the world of a horse, there may be no greater compliment than that. If this changed the way you'll hear that sound, the next video goes somewhere unexpected, because it turns out the sigh is just one signal your horse sends you every day. Most of the others, you've been misreading your entire life.